have not done a garden tour in quite a while, especially in the front yard. I've been meaning to do that for a little while. I definitely lost a lot of things in the freeze that we recently had, but I've been wanting to give y'all an update. You can see the ryegrass lawn is looking quite nice. Actually, I've had to mow it 2 or 3 times in the last few weeks. There's kind of a ryegrass island under the loquat tree here, and then there's the actual ryegrass lawn in between the raised beds. A few things survived the freeze. This whole bed here was daikon radishes, and interestingly, half of the bed survived and half didn't, and I think that's because of the way the wind was blowing. We had really intense winds when it got down to 15 degrees, and I did not cover this bed. You can see the radishes on the left of the bed were spared. The ones on the right were not. This little row here was supposed to be some broccolis and kales and purple mustard. There's a few survivors in here. The lacinato in the back there looks alright. Yeah, the lemons took a beating. This is some kale and lettuce in here. Most of the cabbages died. I need to replace some of those spots. There's one good looking cabbage here that looks really nice. The carrots and cilantro are just fine. There's another cabbage here way in the back that looks alright. The rose bush is fine. Take a look, see what we got over here. I made a little keyhole for my potted plants. There's some clover popping up here, some ryegrass. We got apple mint here, wild strawberries here, cultivated strawberries here. There's some beets, and then this is a mixed planting of, I think these are those cabbage collards, the ones that are kind of halfway in between cabbages and collards. Maybe some of the Morris heading. There's some purple lettuce in here. There's some broccoli in here that are starting to look like they want to head up. There's some broccoli. There's some broccoli. Wow, that's gorgeous. Yeah, that's a nice looking little container garden, fabric pots. Quite a bit of lettuce in there. This is a cool looking kale here. There's some ryegrass on my red patio that looks kind of nice. I've been trying to get into ryegrass art. Some stragglers, seedlings that haven't been planted. There might be some dogs back here. This purple kohlrabi wasn't even bothered by the 15-degree weather, completely uncovered. Same with the Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts were completely fine. This might be the first year I actually get a decent Brussels sprout crop. There's been a rat that's been nibbling on some of the brassica seedlings. It doesn't seem interested in bothering the lettuce. It doesn't really bother the Brussels sprouts or the kohlrabi. It just seems very interested in young brassica seedlings. You can see where it's devastated a lot of those. I saw it under the house last week. It's a pretty sizable rat. I have 2 owls in the backyard and 3 or 4 feral cats, and this rat has managed to evade both owls and all 4 cats. You can see the damage the rat's been doing here. My dogs need to get better at hunting rats. So yeah, there's a lot of damage from the freeze. 15 degrees is, a once in a 30-year event for us. We're usually semi-tropical. Most winters we don't get below 30. We might have a day or two where it dips down to 28 for an hour, but getting down to 15 is just surreal. and I don't have any heat. I didn't have a way to cover most of these large citrus trees, but these trees were all started from seed. And you can see they're not dead. They look real beat up. They lost most of their leaves, but unlike some of the cultivars that are just dead, these citrus trees started from seed. I think they're going to make it. They just will be set back a year or two. Lost most of the radishes that were in this little container garden surrounding this Permaculture bed. A few of the radishes made it. Seems variety specific. This radish looks just fine here. The cilantro was fine, the carrots were fine. This was a really interesting learning year for me to see which crops survive 15 Fahrenheit and which don't. There were some surprises. I was very surprised that I lost as many radishes as I did, and I was very surprised that the lettuce was unfazed. I knew the cilantro and carrots would be alright. I figured the leeks and garlic would be okay, but I was really impressed at how the lettuce sailed through with no damage at all. The rat has also taken out quite a few young pea plants. It ate all of the pea seedlings in my greenhouse, but it did not eat the peas out here, which is interesting. I think it's more likely to eat things in the greenhouse because it feels protected in the greenhouse in terms of there aren't cats and owls in there. Some little brassicas in fabric pots here. These peas got pretty well devastated by the freeze. Some of them look like they're coming back. There's some carrots mixed in there. These carrots have been kind of slow. I think I planted these like in October or November, and they're not ready yet. The lettuce just looks amazing. If there's one thing that's done really, really well for me this year, it's been the lettuce. No real sign of any parsnips coming up in here, and that's a shame because that was new seed that I just got from Baker Creek this year. I mean, it's fairly expensive. It was like $4 for a small seed pack of parsnip seeds, and I just don't see anything coming up. I probably should have planted them earlier. Parsnips do a lot better if they're fall planted. There's definitely some clover in here and some dandelion, but I don't see any sign of parsnips. There's some carrots in that pot. This lettuce bed over here looks really nice. This is fairly shady most of the time. It gets a little bit of morning sun, but it's a fairly shady bed of lettuce. And you can see it's got a real rich dark purple color, probably because it's in the shade. Zinnia kept running in here and tearing it up, so I had to put some twine around it to keep her out. I haven't been back here in months. I don't really know what exactly to do with this area. This used to be where the chickens were. And there were some fruit trees and some things back here, but I don't really know what to do with this area at this point. Look at those dogs. They're such good dogs. The grapefruit tree I did try to cover during the freeze. I put a giant ladder over it and covered it with plastic. I saw a cat in the shed yesterday, which was funny. I didn't know cats like to hang out in the shed. It's also kind of a junk pile at the moment. It needs to be cleaned out. This compost pile looks like it's doing pretty good. Not sure what happened to this arugula plant. This looks sad. Wonder if it got some disease. Some of the brassicas in here look like they're doing alright. And this is a compost pile. I didn't plant any of this stuff. It just popped up. Just kind of wanted to do a quick little garden tour because it's been so long since I did one. Volunteer collard made it through the freeze, no damage. Another volunteer back here. I like volunteers. But yeah, today's project is to take all of the tomato seedlings out of the laundry room, which is my grow room, and put them in the greenhouse. I have tomato plants in the laundry room that are 2.5, 3 feet tall, even though they're only in 4-inch pots, and that's a mess. There's some carrots in the greenhouse that are ready to harvest. The carrots in the greenhouse probably won't be quite as sweet as the ones out here, but they definitely grow faster and they're ready to harvest earlier. Yeah, now I'm just kind of rambling. Just wanted to give you all a quick garden tour. Thanks for tuning in.